I think our intentions probably determines most of our experiences. Dating right now does feel like a place of a lot of unnecessary struggle. We are kind of cooked now, not just because of how social media has changed dating, but because of how it has also changed our own expectations of others. We have changed. But that being said though, I don't think this has been a new problem. Romance has always been tough one way or other. Just ask Romeo or Orpheus. We always tend to think we're the most special time period, and we do have a lot of unique struggles, but I do think this is a tale as old as time. And we still exist in the context of all the conditions that came before us. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context.
The horn of the rhinoceros, or the Kagavishna Sutta, probably one of the most popular Buddhist sutras about relationships. Historical meaning is kind of all over the place and has a little bit different connotation. I think the intention behind the sutra is to encourage solitude, monkhood, and also to cherish the right types of companionship. Also about having aura. I'm just gonna read some parts of it because I think it's so sweet. As a deer in the wild, unfettered, goes for forage wherever it wants. The wise person, valuing freedom, wanders alone like a rhinoceros. Without resistance in all four directions, content with whatever you get, enduring troubles with no disdain, wander alone like a rhinoceros. If you gain mature companionship, a fellow traveler, right living and wise, overcoming all dangers, go with them, gratified, mindful. We praise companionships. Yes, those on par or better should be chosen as friends. If they're not to be found, living faultlessly, wander alone like a rhinoceros. This sutra really does drag on and on and on about how like you should just be alone. It talks about everything from friendships to kingdoms to family relationships, literally any forms of attachment. That might be a little bit over the top. I do think it's a powerful way of describing one of our biggest reasons for failing in dating: attachment to others. It kind of describes how the right relationships will find you, or maybe it won't. But whether or not that happens, you still get to operate from a sense of duty in a free manner, in an untethered manner. This is aura. When the right friendships or companionships does find your way, cherish it and be grateful for it. And continue wandering. That's all we can really do. What's interesting about this sutra is it's not just saying work on yourself or like improve something or something like that. Of course, you could do that too. But it's really saying you stop getting entangled and become free first. Not go get a perm and start lifting weights so you could give back shots to not start scrolling to Sigma male TikTok. I think it really is the understanding that the spaces in between life, between relationships, between hangouts, between the next great high can be a great time. When those things do arrive and they don't mess up your sense of equanimity, that can also be cherished. You might be saying that attachment is a necessary part of romance. I think to an extent it for sure is. I also think that I and many others struggle with the clinging of the idea of a perfect partner, whether it's a better social group or the perfect wife or the hottest girl. It doesn't have to be romantic either. It could also be other things like your family or your job or your location. Whether you're with someone or without someone, you have what you want or you don't, that FOMO can still persist if you have an attachment. But the part of the problem with the Gen Z dating is that the fear of missing out on the perfect idea makes us never choose anything. We can never choose each other. There is always what seems like a better option, always a better situation, always a better swipe. But this is not an issue that just stems from dating apps or internet, in my opinion. It is definitely exaggerated because of it. It's still created because of us. What has happened is that our expectation of people could never match reality. We have always been designed to want more from people, unless we otherwise learn to train it. Our parents will never fulfill our expectations. Our kids will never fulfill our expectations. Our friends will let us down. Our partners will let us down. These are things that have always been true across all time. But because now we have the illusion that we have so much more option, it's become harder for us to realize that in some ways. It's just always going to feel like there's a better situation. Paradoxically, I also think the fear of missing out and our expectation of other people is also what leads people into bad relationships in the first place. FOMO is the same reason why people rush into bad situationships, end up getting hurt, or reducing other people to just mere ideas. We are pack animals, and seeing everyone else have fun without us can make us feel very isolated. This is the fear that corporations capitalize on. Billions are being spent just to capitalize on this. While everyone is seemingly going through it right now, we all feel alone in it. I don't think this is a new situation, but maybe now it's more clear. I had to change the light. Now I want to talk about more hopeful stuff. Fear of missing out for me only comes from one thing: my obsession with the idea of a self. This is totally an illusion. Maybe at this point, a completely unnecessary illusion. Even if you're completely and utterly alone, you are still impacting things around you. Things are still impacting you. We are all connected in some ways. And I don't mean that in some literal way, some panpsychism, or some integrational information theory type of way. I mean that in the most subtle way. Your name, your sense of identity exists in the context of all those around you. The toilet that you're sitting on becomes a toilet because of the label that we give it, in conjunction with what's already there. The person that you admire is admired, yes, because that person exists, but also deeply because of you and your image of them. Your thoughts inside of your head shapes what you think of yourself. Then it changes how you think of others. You believe you are a loser, then you will only ever see others in terms of winners and losers. You believe that someone else is a loner, then you will also see yourself only in a spectrum of alone and together. You want to be the best, the strongest, the richest, you will crowd and push down others behind you, because to be a winner, there has to be someone that loses. Strength, weakness, together, alone. These are all in context of each other, but also inherently empty. No man is an island, no one is an island. In relation to the sutra I just stated earlier, this might sound like a contradiction, but it really isn't. But it shows that going alone is ultimately an illusion. Your impressions and your aura is felt around you, even if you choose to completely isolate. That being said though, my deepest connections have always been the ones where subtle connection is felt across time. Think about the moments with your friends when things are just right and fun.
We are back, babies. We are fuck.
Maybe they're making fun of you. There's a lot of banter going around. Like you're being challenged and made fun of, but it feels bad in a way that doesn't make you feel small. It feels playful, even if you're getting kind of cooked. To me, that is an example of a mature companion, fellow traveler, right living and wise, overcoming all dangers. It might not always be that, but when it is, I want to cherish that and just move on. It can be done with bantering, it can be done with fighting, it can be done while arguing. The connection piece is when you effortlessly realize that others shaped you and you shaped them. Without the rivalry, would it be fun? Larry Bird versus Magic, LeBron versus Curry, Goku versus Vegeta. I think these are all examples of connection. Think about moments like that in your own life. I remember as a kid, like before I was 10, I had a childhood best friend who I was always jealous of. I hadn't hit puberty yet, so she was stronger than me, taller than me, smarter than me, and just beat me in everything. This used to drive me crazy. But looking back at it now, I think of it as a happy memory. The 8-year-old Darsh might have hated her. I think if we're able to stabilize that insight, that being alone isn't being disconnected, an impact can be made whether or not you will like someone or you dislike someone, then I think the right companions that deserve to be cherished will find you along your journey, non-clinging and helping us understand our vastness. This is probably why dating has always felt so hard for me, and also why a lot of us struggle, in my opinion. In dating, we always see connections as better or worse, as right or wrong, or as a 7 or as a 10. Is someone tall enough? Not me. Someone hot enough? It often feels like a means to an end, for me as well. For sure in the Tinder and Hinge era, for sure. But also true back then. For example, my parents' generation in Nepal, as it's common in many other Asian countries back then, often had arranged marriages. When we think about what this entails, it's often always a status game. What family is she from? How much money does he make? What's her education? Is she old? Is he sick? What caste is he from? Well, apparently, supposedly this leads to more stable marriages, and I guess my grandparents never had to worry about looks maxing. I still think it's fear-based. Just because people are together and haven't divorced, is it really helping you see your vastness? I'm not sure if that's always true. I'm sure it can be. I doubt it's guaranteed to. A lot of societies that do have arranged marriage and low divorce rates also tend to have a really bad patriarchal system where it's heavily looked down for women to ask for divorce. So things like abuse, domestic violence, or just pure dysfunction will often go unchallenged. Yeah, the marriage is not divorced. Does that mean it's flourishing? And that being said though, I also think this is true for modern relationships as well. Neither is really without a problem, and in the core of it, I think it's a similar problem. I wonder if we're just putting too much expectations on other people based on our own selfish ideals. The charm of the good moments, whether alone or with people, has always felt effortless to me and perfectly challenged. So maybe we should be doing exactly what the verse said first: wander alone like a rhino. I couldn't just gloss over a Gen Z dating video without talking about running clubs and climbing. You know that saying that love finds you when you least expected? It kind of makes me want to vomit sometimes. Actually a lot. But I think the part about the expectation is true. Expectations have really turned into our biggest boundaries.
I'm looking for a man in finance with trust fund. 6'5", blue eyes.
Going on your first date, having your 5th talking stage. Clearly people have seen the problem with this. These are not videos that I made. These are all over social media.
What do you think about
What is this?
It's a curriculum on everything you need to know about it.
That's why things like running club have really exploded. The idea behind running club is that we're all together for a specific activity and often unexpectedly meeting each other.
I don't love running. I really don't like it at all. I think just meeting a very young, fit woman is definitely
Small conversations that are regular intervals, so there's more familiarity with each other, easier to keep a conversation going because there's no pressure, and get this, not as much expectation. I think another important type of these type of clubs and events is introduction of things like play and banter. And this would be a completely different topic, but play has served me very well in life. I'm not in a running club, though I run for health reasons, but I see this a lot in a climbing gym too. That's another place where people are figuring out a common problem, doing something active and just vibing, and it makes a lot of sense why people go here. But the problem is you can also tell when people are there for the wrong reasons. There to get girls, it's so easy to spot. It's also very cringe, but this is what I mean. It's not the place, it's the fact that there's the expectation that's a problem. If we just went in there just trying to have fun, I think it would be just fine. Oftentimes in my own life, the people that I know have the best relationships also started out as the bestest of friends with no expectation of ever becoming romantic. They understood each other first, and it just happened to make sense for them to get together when they wanted to. There was no initial intention like that. They were just living life. I think that's how running club and climbing gym intentions are supposed to flow. Naturally and not forced, probably. And definitely not like Hinge. But at the end of the day, whether you've been in a 25-year marriage or you can't get a single partner to save your life, you adore people just like you are passing water. They are there and they aren't. But we could cherish each other when we do meet. It's not impossible to see that we have everything we need and that's fun to share with people when they want. We might go alone like a rhinoceros, but we are still connected to each other. Dating has always been broken, but we don't have to be. That was probably the corniest video I've ever made in my life, but thanks for checking it out.
Oh my god, bro.